Serendipity, I love serendipity. Happenstance, a happy accident. Just as I was on a roll, I like to think I was on a roll anyway, in that earlier segment, perhaps you saw I was pretty abruptly interrupted. You may have heard the buzzer from my downstairs from the front porch. Someone had come so that I got disrupted. And at first I was a little bit discouraged because because I treasure this time that I'm spending doing this. But interruptions are part of life. And I saw the silver lining of all this. It'll give me an opportunity. I'm going to try to add this segment, something I haven't tried to do before, add this section, combine these two sessions, and with the editing tools that YouTube so graciously supplies me with. I'm not one of those ones that get in the technical side. It's probably pretty obvious. My lighting needs a lot of work. I'm hoping that my sound, more importantly, the sound is coming across. It sounds okay to me. It sounds good to me. So, but I'm not into the technical aspects of this process. And for those of you that are more power on you, I can watch a video and really appreciate, but when I look at YouTube, really appreciate the effort that goes into some production. My wife in particular loves to watch people play games, and it sounds a little bit bizarre, but play computer games because their skill is good, and she's really entertained, and she learns when she's learning in a new game. And there's personalities, and they have in the millions of listeners. So in the scheme of things, maybe my efforts aren't really what the world desires. I don't know. But I try not to spend too much time worrying about, not worrying, but even considering or thinking about that others doing other things seem to be so much more popular. But I've never been into a popularity kind of a thing. I'm speaking to you. If you're out there, I'm speaking to you and only you. How's that? So we're talking about ashes to the winds. Oh, if you have buckets full, I call them buckets because that's the visualization I get. Buckets of regret. Overflowing with regret. Here I'll go into the crab story because it's really important. Crab fishermen, I used to go watch them, and there is these bridges 40, 50 feet away from the brackish water that estuaries that emptied into the sea, and the tide would bring the salt. So this was an environment where the salt water and the fresh water, brackish water, it became, and in this environment, was conducive to certain species, certain animals, and crabs are one of them. So people would put down crab nets and tie it to the railing and come back in the morning. Reel it in. And they come early in the morning, and I used to ride my bike nearby and be fascinated by that. I don't like to fish, but somehow the type of people that I meet that seem to enjoy fishing, other than deep sea fishing perhaps, but who love to sit quietly, waiting. And the amazing thing about fishing is 99% of the time you're not catching anything. So either the 1% makes it worthwhile, or you learn to enjoy the solitude, being outside. Anyway, I found fishermen to be interesting, folks. So I stopped to talk to the crabber because I was watching him. He was picking the crabs and throwing them into a big bucket, and throwing them into the bucket, one after another and after another. And notice the bucket was getting quite full. And I say, hey, won't they crawl out of the bucket? He goes, no, crabs aren't like that. If one is about to, instead of cooperating, standing on top of each other, you would think, and then reaching behind and pulling each other up, they do quite the opposite. They pull each other down. They keep each other in the bucket. Their fate is to be someone's dinner. But they don't promote, they don't help each other to escape. And I really saw that the condition of man was really similar. We always if we put someone on a pedestal, there's no more satisfactory action for many people than to pull them off to the pedestal. If people are rising above other people, just like the crabs will reach up to pull them down. So maybe that's why that analogy of buckets of regrets. Regrets can't escape. Somebody's pulling them back. And maybe you're storing them in for later access. In a moment of weakness, that you can go back and start sorting through your collection, your bucket of regrets. Now, if instead you would take them and sacrifice them, offer them up to the violet consuming flame,